Hello again. Welcome to the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. My name is Randy Cook. Each week, Mark and I sit down here and talk through some of the issues that you might be thinking about when it comes to retirement. You see your friends retire, and then you wonder how it's all going to work out for you. You haven't chosen that person yet. You know, financial advisory, all that whole thing is a world that you don't even know much about. Well, that's why we want to introduce you to Mark and show you how he helps people retire and helps people with retirement, not just a one-time transaction. Hey, here's your plan. Good luck. Off into the sunset you go. No, this is an ongoing relationship of helping you and Mark being a financial resource to you. Mark, how are you today?
I'm great, Randy. Hey, people, pick me. Come on, pick me.
He's like Horseshack and Welcome Back, Kotter. Oh, me. I love it. Yeah, it is so true. I mean, one of the things that we have to get over is that hump of, how do we start this and who do we trust? And I think it's a matter of just kind of sitting down. And some people probably have to interview a couple of different financial advisors in order to figure out what's right and what's not. And Mark, I got to believe that there's kind of a chemistry, a feeling. This feels right when you sit down with somebody for the first time and they're kind of on the same page with you. And if you're not on the same page, it's time to go someplace else, isn't it?
It is. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, you talk about some of the biggest custodians out there like Fidelity Investments, Charles Schwab, Vanguard. When I meet the Vanguarders of the world, they're usually the DIYers, right? They like to do it themselves. A lot of times people pick Vanguard for that reason. They'll have a money market that has a pretty high rate, and then they'll have some funds that have just very low expense ratios, and they like that. Now, with that, sometimes stuff like that can underperform as well. And these are the real conversations we have here. And that's why we like to affect people in a positive way for the rest of their lives. That's what our whole objective here is, to affect the lives of people in a positive way.
Yeah, I think that if you haven't talked about it, if you don't have somebody who you've talked to about this, or maybe you do have somebody that you've talked to and you wonder, are you covering all the bases and you want to have a second set of eyes on what you got going on, maybe you're a do-it-yourselfer. Sit down with Mark. It's a no-cost, no-obligation meeting to sit down and say, okay, here's a couple of gaps that have you thought about this? Did you realize that at age 76, you're going to have a problem with RMDs, and this is going to be what's going on? That's a lot of the stuff, looking down through the telescope of time to say, what's going to happen to me in 10 years if I go down this road. It's a good conversation to have. To have that with Mark at no charge, no cost, no obligation there. It's 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984. Or look them up online, which is more2retire.com. Pretty simple there. All right, when it comes to putting together a retirement plan, you bring all these different, what I would refer to as raw materials. You've got your 401ks and your IRAs and your Roths, and maybe you've bought a condo that you rent out or something like that. And this is all bringing you income, and you got to put it all together in retirement. And you come into somebody like Mark and you say, okay, where do we start? And I've got an article here from Investopedia that says, we start with the job, not the product. Is this for income, long-term growth, short-term growth, tax favored? What is it? So I've heard people say, look at this with the end in mind, and we work backwards. Is that something that you do, Mark? Is that part of the philosophy here?
It just depends on the person's overall situation, their personality, how they go about things. Because, Randy, what we do best here is customize, right? If I got to go in reverse for someone, I'll go in reverse for someone. That's the whole point. The point is, do we need to see where you want to end up? Sure, it absolutely helps to see, you want to retire at a certain age. Where do you want to retire? Well, why don't we start now and plan towards that? Of course. So the question really remains, do you need that type of assistance? I think that everyone in some fashion needs that type of assistance. And you might say, no, I don't. Let me tell you something. This is what I do for a living. And I know that you all do different things for a living. That's why I respect what you do for a living. And when we have these conversations, you might know a lot about investments. You might know a lot about other insurance products and things like that. There's probably a lot of other things out there that we do that you might not know about. We have access to a lot of things that a lot of folks don't know about, and I love to share that information. So for me, the objective is to meet people that are really looking for assistance in this world. And truthfully, I want to help as many people as I possibly can. So the more people I meet, great. If we shake hands after our first meeting and you don't think it's going to work or fit, fine. You always have a friend and a resource here in Marc Oslar at the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. Always.
I think that if you think about anything in your life, you go to somebody and you say, I want to lose 30 pounds, or I want to be a scratch golfer, or you got a goal that's down the line. And then you figure out with your coach, how are you going to get there? That journey of how you're going to lose that weight, or how you're going to improve your golf score, or how you're going to, whatever it is you're going to do. And that's kind of the same though we're looking here. I've got 25, 30 years to plan for financially, and I'm not going to have a job. Mark, how do I do that? And that's the whole idea here, to figure out where the income comes from. Are there any glitches along the way? What if the market goes down? What if taxes go up? What if inflation goes up? I mean, we're experiencing that right now. What if you're 10, 15 years into retirement and all of a sudden you were used to paying $2.85 for gas and now you're paying $4.50? That's something you're dealing with, and you don't have any control over that. Where's the income coming from? Let's figure that out together. Give Mark a call. It is 984-300-1984. Let's map out that retirement for you. 984-300-1984, or use the website, which is more2retire.com. So we don't hear too much from Warren Buffett these days. He is now 95 years old, and he's finally retired. Wow. I think he retired last year at 94. But before he left, he moved a whole bunch of money over to cash. Now, I'm not saying that that's what you should do because Warren Buffett did that. But that is what a lot of retirees do. They retire from work, and they also retire their risk. They get out of the stock market. I've heard more than one person say that. So, Mark, I want to ask you, does pulling out of the stock market put you in a new kind of risk?
That's a really, really good question. It's also a pretty loaded question. So
that's what I'm here for.
if you're the type of person that has a portfolio that ranges from $250,000 up to a couple $1 million, a lot of times folks like to look for things that have some preservation tactics built in, like annuities. Mm-hmm. And so we have that conversation. Now, when a person starts to have assets that are $5, $10 million, they feel like they have so much that they don't feel like they need the preservation tactics of annuities. And I understand that. Mm-hmm. I understand it. I'm not going to try to convince you one way or another what's best for you. We're going to have an organic conversation and really apply the principles of what we do here. The principles of what we do here are the acronym PIG: preservation, income, and growth. It doesn't change. It doesn't switch. This is how we perform here. And what do? We look for preservation tactics for your income because we want to make sure the income you receive is going to be more of a certainty for you. Mm-hmm. You can lay your head on the pillow, wake up in the morning, and you know it's going to be in the bank, mm-hmm. right? And then at the same time, we prepare for taxes and inflation. So if the income is through preservation tactics and we were preparing for taxes and inflation, then the growth can be the remainder of everything else that we do. We could take some risk. We could talk about the type of risk we want to take. Depends on if you want a higher distribution or if you're looking for, just growing the money. All depends on what stage of life you're in. Maybe you want to do some vacationing. We're going to build it all in. That's what we do, and that's what we specialize in.
You're listening to the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience online. You can sit down with Mark at more2retire.com. Just spell that right out, more2retire.com. If it's time to talk about your retirement, let's get that conversation going. Get something down on paper. We like to use the term, let's do the math on your retirement. Let's do the X's and the O's here and figure out where you're at. And if you find out, you're worried about Social Security, maybe that gets cut back, does that mean you're not going to have enough income in retirement? Well, let's figure that out together. And if that, in fact, does take place, let's have a strategy for it. Here's the number. Here's the website, 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984, or use the website, which is more2retire.com. So when you look at your retirement accounts, do you know where to find the fees, what this is costing you? Like if you have a Vanguard account or a Fidelity account and you go in there, can you find out what this is costing you? Do you even know what this is costing? Did you know that you're paying for something here? And also, there's costs for advisors, and there's also costs for investments. This is Jason Kephart, and he's with Morningstar, talking about what you can see, what you can't see, and what to expect.
So you really want to keep in some like rules of thumb, like your all-in costs. Like if you have $100,000, what did you actually pay in fees that year? Whether it's commission, fee-based, or fee only. And what is your total cost? We think the average in the industry is probably around 1%. That's what gets bandied around a lot. So if your fees are like significantly north of that, I would maybe ask some more questions. And if they're significantly under that, maybe you're getting a good deal, or maybe there are some services you're not being offered that, others might be.
Okay. So, Mark, one of the things that we talk about here on the show is if somebody wants to get a second opinion on what they have right now, you'll do that for them. You do in that a fee analysis, figuring out what people are paying. What do you find? Do people know that there's fees involved with a simple 401k? Are people getting what they should out of the money that they're paying with advisors and things like that? What do you find on a fee analysis?
So when you look at a fee analysis, we run a report. It breaks down for us that internal expense ratio of the mutual funds or the exchange traded funds. And that's what we're trying to figure out is what is it costing the person internally, because we share with you what we charge externally, right? So we as advisors have a fee. Okay. Now, you could have an advisor that maybe he's put some money off to the side. He doesn't charge you for that. He charges for other stuff. And maybe you have an all-in fee of like 0.75. There's a possibility that might be true. You could also have an advisor that's actively managing your portfolio and charging you 2%. Yes, I've seen that.
Wow.
And that's on the higher side of things. So it varies greatly about the external fee. Understanding what the fee is, what you're getting charged on, that's first and foremost, that's important. But when we run the report tells us about the internal expense ratio of the funds that you have. That matters a lot because mutual funds tend to have higher expense ratios than exchange traded funds. So when they do, a lot of times we dive in and sink our teeth in. I remember I had a client that came in and showed me a couple positions that she had at the bank, a couple different mutual funds she was in, and the expense ratio was 1.34%. These are fees you need to know about. So when we see these things, our antennas go up and we want to answer questions for people and say, do you know what you're paying all in? Do you know what and then the question is, are you getting what you're paying for? Well, at my last presentation at Ray's Restaurant, we talked about some different things. And I said, look, okay, no, of course, I'm not going to be the cheapest advisor out there because I don't wear cheap shoes or cheap clothing. All right. You're eating a steak at Ray's. Now, what's the difference between you eating a steak at Ray's or eating a steak at Lone Star, right? I think there's a big difference. So the point of the matter is, first, you might be getting what you pay for. You might not. Let's figure that out. Let's have a conversation. Let's look into it, and let's get some answers for you. That doesn't mean we have to do business, but it's a great place for us to start a relationship and a conversation.
Yeah, it's interesting. You may look at the market and you go say, hey, the market's up 10%. How come I'm not up 10%? Well, it could be fees that are holding you back. Maybe you have to make 12% or 13% in order to get 10% because the fees are eating things up. That's one way to look at it and one thing that can become clear on a fee analysis. One of the other things I know, Mark, that you talk about when you do these analysis is what's the performance? How are you doing? I mean, could you be doing better than where you are right now? Is there overlapping? Do you have a lot of the same stuff that's going on right now? I don't know that people are really aware of that, especially if they come in with a 401k with a couple of index funds that's all doing the same thing.
I'm so glad you brought this up because I just got a 401k statement running the report currently, but I didn't even have to run the report to see what the returns were over the last year. So you could throw a dart at a dartboard and say, man, did I do great in the market these last few years, right? I mean, my gosh, it's not that difficult. Everything's just shooting through the roof. Well, I look at the statement and it tells me what? It tells me it looks like her account was up about 9.5% over the last 12 months. Okay, good. Now, with that, how'd the S&P do over the last year? A lot higher than that. And that's the conversation we have is, are you trying to prepare for retirement or are you preparing for retirement? There's a difference between trying and doing. What we want to do is be effective with the moments and time we have with you. You don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste your time. What I want to do is to be as effective as possible at getting the answers for you, because in this situation, this particular person happens to want to work for another 5 years. Well, we got to come up with an income plan, because a lot of folks don't understand that if we don't correct the Social Security system, it could be reduced in several years from now by 28%. Mm-hmm. And we don't want that to happen. So we build all this stuff into the plan ahead of time, so we're prepared. We're preparing our fields, just like it says in the Bible. Be prepared, and that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to help you. We're going to get you along. We're going to run these reports. We're going to identify all the costs involved. Are you underperforming? Are you performing at the level you need to be at? Are you in target date funds? Okay, don't make me talk about it again, Randy. I have such a distaste for target date funds. Let's do better than that, okay?
You're listening to the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience, and online you can find Marc at moretoretire.com. Just spell that right out. When you go to the website, you're going to see the steps to more. And Marc, why don't you go through that a little bit? Give people an idea if they contact you and say, yeah, I do need some help with my retirement, what is going to happen? What are the steps that you take to help people get down that journey?
I love this question right here. So this is the answer. You go to my website, moretoretire.com, moretoretire.com. You go to the process tab. That's our process guide. It is your financial pathway to more. And basically, we start with a treetop view. People always say, what is a treetop view? Come on, it's not difficult, all right? It's me looking from the top at the different buckets of money and understanding what you're doing, what you're applying to it, when you're going to retire, just an overall picture, big view, right? Then what we do is we discover your retirement desires, your dreams, your things you want to do, and we put the needs and the wants together. Then we customize a plan. We put together a plan that makes sense for you for your future. And as we do these things and you become a client, then of course we're going to look at changes, switches, and adjustments throughout the years, because with anything in life, you have to be prepared to switch or change. So if you tell me you just want to be stuck in the mud, I'm sorry, that's not how we do it here. Mm-hmm. We have to be ready to switch or adjust and change, because we got to change with the times and be prepared for that, because we will have to be effective with what we do for you. It's important. And last but not least, you're going to get ongoing support. That's what our team does here.
You're listening to the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience, and if you want to go through all of that, the financial pathway to more, it's on the website, moretoretire.com. Just spell that out. Tool around the website, do your homework there, give Marc a call, get a date on a calendar. Let's do the math on your retirement. What does it look like? You've saved this much. You've been doing a 401k. You've got a Roth. You've got a property. You've got a condo, and you're renting, and you're getting income from that. How does that all become a paycheck for you in retirement? Let's figure that out. 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984. All right, we've talked about using dividend-paying stocks in the past. You can buy a stock, and you benefit from that as the stock goes up. And with a dividend-paying stock, it even kicks in a little extra money on the side, which is kind of nice. But that money is not guaranteed. Those companies will give you a dividend, but they're saying it might not be going forever. Well, that just happened just recently. The people at Whirlpool have been paying a dividend for the last 70 years. And they just announced, sorry, we can't do that anymore. So I wanted to ask about that, Marc. Is that a common thing that a company would say, I'm sorry, we're lowering our dividend, or we're not going to do a dividend anymore? And does that discourage you from using dividend-paying stocks for retirees?
I don't know, Randy. I got to be honest with you. Whirlpool, they should pay a dividend, because their refrigerators are not as good as they used to be, all right? I bought a fridge a few years ago, and the stupid ice maker does not work, all right?
Yep.
I go to Fresh Market because I buy nice spring water ice and just fill it in until we buy a new fridge. It is so frustrating. It kept breaking and doesn't work. And then the shelves break. And you're like, this is a piece of junk, okay? Now, I'm not down in a Whirlpool, but you guys should be able to afford a dividend if you're putting out junk like this.
Up your game, people. Up your game.
That's right. That's right. So, no, truthfully, you can't count on a dividend as a certainty in retirement. But there are some out there that have been paying for many years consistently, and you could feel I'd say confident that it's going to be there, but is it your number one income strategy for retirement? I certainly hope not. That's not what we're going to do here. Now, we do have some funds out there that pay higher distribution rates, and we can have a conversation about that as well, but it also has volatility too. So there's a lot of real questions out there, and the question is, are you working off a fixed bucket of money? Do you have a portfolio of $500,000, $2 million? Have you made income plans other than Social Security? If you haven't, let's have that conversation. If you go to my website, moretoretire.com, there's a secure upload button at the top right-hand corner. You upload that statement. It tells you to put in your name and your email. We get that information. My guy, Chris, puts it over into the CRM, and we set it up, and we get that Morningstar report for you. It identifies all those things that we need to know. And then we have a real conversation with you about that, about where you want to go from this point, because income is so big in retirement. Preservation, income, and growth. We want to have preservation tactics in place for the people that have portfolios this size, because this is what's going to help you know I can retire and then I can grow the rest of it in a real sensible way or an aggressive way, whatever makes you happy. But we want to affect your lives in a positive way that makes sense for you. So when you ask me, what do? I do a lot, okay? We have brokerage accounts. We have insurance products. But one of the things that came up recently is what happens when I die? What happens when my spouse dies? What happens with our kids? You start talking to our kids. Yes, all of the above. We're a part of your team. We want to be called. We want to help people. We want to be there for people. I had a client this year that passed away that was 69 years old. I didn't see it coming. But are we there? We're there for them. We're prepared. We love. We care. That's what it's all about for us. So the bottom line is, this is where it starts, but the finish line is we're going to be there for you and your family.
Yeah, I think that when I use the term a financial resource, I could use the term a financial friend, because when you think about it, who are you going to call when some of this stuff happens? I mean, you're probably going to call your relatives and say this happened, and then the next call is going to be, how's this affecting me financially? What am I going to do going forward? You're going to call your financial advisor and say, this is just what happened. Where do we go from here? It's a relationship, and to sit down with Marc and to figure that out and to say, okay, we're going to put together a retirement plan, but that's not the end of our relationship. We're going to continue to go through there. When Marc talks about every year we're going to get together, maybe a couple times a year, changes in your life, there'll be changes in your finances. Let's talk through it. Give Marc a call. Let's talk about it. It is 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984, or use the website moretoretire.com. There's a place for you to put a little information in there, and Marc will reach out to you. Let's get a date on a calendar and do some of the math on your retirement. We're going to take a break and come back, and for many years, the average retirement age was 62. You probably know why. That has changed. Why is that? We'll tell you coming up on the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience.
A simple piece of paper. It's something we use every day. For the most part, it does what it's designed to do. It sits there flat on your desk as a placeholder for information. But with a couple strategic folds, suddenly your flat piece of paper becomes an airplane and flies across the room. Your 401k is kind of like that flat piece of paper. It just sits there as a placeholder for your money. Marc Oslar can show you those strategic moves to take your 401k from just sitting there to creating the income you need for retirement. Call today for a free no-obligation meeting. 984-300-1984. That's 984-300-1984. Or online at moretoretire.com.
Welcome back to the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. Online, it is moretoretire.com. Also online, you can go to iTunes, you can go to Spotify, and the podcast is there under the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. So if you're in your car listening right now and you got to get out, you like what you're hearing, this show will be there and past shows as well. So if you want to do a little homework on your retirement, it's all right there. All right, so for a long time, we had pensions, and the average retirement age was 62. Makes sense, because at 62, you get your Social Security, you trigger your pension, you live off your savings, voila, off into the sunset. Pretty easy retirement planning, right? Well, that's all changed now because a lot of pensions have gone away. That guaranteed check that you were going to get has gone away. Now it's all on you. It's a 401k that you have to try to figure out how to make some income. And what has happened is people are working a couple of extra years now in order to get that all in place. The average retirement age now is 65. So you trigger Medicare, then you trigger Social Security, and then you start into your retirement savings. Here's a question for you, Mark. People are worried about income. They're working more years in order to make sure they have that income. Have you had people who come in, maybe at 62, thinking they're going to have to work a couple more years, and they don't know it, but they've got the income to retire. They just haven't figured it out yet?
Yes, this is a common occurrence. So this is where the conversation really happens. You know, a person 62 years old, they tell me they want to work to 65 or 67. We start having conversations about what that looks like. We have real organic conversations about how do we get there? And the question is, do you have other income sources prepared for retirement other than Social Security? And if you don't, we need to dive into this thing right away because this is going to give us enough time to feel confident that we can give you the answers you're looking for in retirement, the income you're looking for in retirement. Why? You're going to have to set up some preservation tactics for the income. And this is a place where we have this real conversation of, okay, if you're 62 and you want me to get you to 65 or to 67, what does the income look like? Well, we can look at some annuities. We can look at some guaranteed lifetime income riders because that's what they're called. They're called guaranteed lifetime income riders, okay? And then we could also look at just some simple annuities that maybe just have interest rates or some annuities that might have other types of riders that have good growth potential. We could also look at other plans as well. Of course, we do equities. Of course, we work with structured notes and things like that. We can build these things in, but we want to build in preservation tactics. So if you're working on a fixed bucket of money, let's get it set up so you have something in there that you feel is a good preservation tactic for your income. So if we can get you from 62 to 65 to 67, whatever it might be, let's start that conversation. Let's get those answers for you, and let's not rely solely on Social Security. And that's what we're going to do here. One
of the things that I wonder about, we always talk about how you should come in early. I mean, even if retirement is 3 years away, 5 years away, to sit down and have that meeting and say, okay, here's where I am right now. It's kind of like you're at the mall and say, you are here on that map. And where are you on your retirement journey? And I got to believe that sometimes the answer is, you know what? You want to retire? Why are you not retired? You have all the raw materials right here. All we have to do is put them in the right buckets. You could retire right now, and then you make that decision. Do you want to go back to work for a while with a whole new attitude, or do you want to retire? And Mark, I love that's a position of power. That's the take this job and shove it power. And you could just go to work if you want. And when it gets a little tough, go see you later, turn in your keys and you're done. I like that. And that's got to be a powerful feeling for your clients.
Yeah, I mean, when people meet me for the first time and we start the process of sitting down, it's different for everyone. A lot of times folks that are looking for somebody, let's say you're out there, you're looking for an advisor, you're looking for just the guidance, direction, and all the products, procedures, investments that we have, then a lot of times we open and close deals and work things out in the first couple of months of meeting each other, right? But then there's people that might take a little longer. And then there's a guy out there I've been talking to for about a year now, okay? I'm not saying you need to wait a year to do business with me. He just happens to be a little bit more cautious. Mm-hmm. But one thing I said to him the other day was, you know I'm a patient man. He goes, oh, I can attest to that. Look, when I met you, you were 62. Now you're 63, okay? But the point is, he could retire tomorrow, and I could show him how to do it, and I've told him that before. And,
mm-hmm.
and these are the conversations we really have. I could tell you, based on all the figures you show me and what you have, that if we build it properly, I could tell you whether you can or you can't at a certain age. Mm-hmm. And that's where all this starts, Randy. And do you want to know that? do you want to have that peace of mind? I can give you that peace of mind.
One of the things about that position is if you might be financially ready to retire, are you emotionally ready to retire? Because now you're looking at, oh my gosh, I've been going to work. I've been spending 60 hours a week going back and forth to work, 40 hours in the office. I've been doing all that and emails and everything. And now you go, okay, can I let that loose? Now I got to become a new person in retirement. There's adjustments that people need to make. I think I read an article. It was about a book, and it said there are 43 really crazy changes that people go through life that can really upset the apple cart. There's moving to a new city. There's losing a job. There's divorce. There's death of a spouse. There's all these different things that can happen to you in your life. Retirement is in the top 10. And of those 43 things that can happen to you, 20 of them can happen in retirement. So it is just nonstop change that you're having to help people go through. If you can help somebody get paid and go from 2 weeks, every 2 weeks I get paid, to every month I get paid, and there's no interruption there, Mark, I got to believe that makes that transition just a little bit easier for people as they get into this big change in life.
Yes. I mean, if you're 55 or 58 or 59 and a half, let's say you're before 59 and a half. If you got laid off from a job recently, just set an appointment with me. Let's have a conversation, because now that 401k is available. You could actually do something with that with an IRA, because you've been laid off, right? If you're 59 and a half and you're still working or you're laid off, the money's available because a 401k can be rolled at 59 and a half. These are the conversations we want to have ahead of time, because if you really want to know how to get there to 62, to 65, to 67, that's what we'll do. We'll schedule, a plan of events, money, the whole situation. We'll lay it out for you and make it very simple. It doesn't have to be some incredibly written report or diagram. Sometimes those things in particular can get quite confusing. What's going to be is something very open and simple and understanding. And you'll call me 6 months or 12 months and just want to know, are we on pace? Are we doing this? Is this making sense? Is this working? And I'm going to say yes, because we built in preservation tactics for the income. And then the growth part, we're watching it and making sure that if the risk is working out, great. If it's not, we'll adjust. And that's what we do here.
One of the things, I live in the financial headlines. I'm all over the place, and I'm looking at that stuff every single day. Here's the one thing that's in common is people write into Market Watch, and they write into Yahoo Finance, and they write into all these places, and they say, I have this amount in my 401k. I have this amount coming in Social Security. I have this amount in a Roth. Can I retire? And the numbers are all over the map. It could be somebody has $5 million, somebody has $300,000, and everything in between. And they're all asking the same question. Can I retire? You want the answer to that question? Have a meeting with Mark. Sit down, no cost, no obligation. Can I retire? Let's get you the answer to that question. Maybe it's right now and you don't know about it. Maybe it's a lot closer than what you think. You think you got to go another 3 years. Maybe you don't. Let's find out. MoreToRetire.com is the website. MoreToRetire.com. Look around there. Find out more about Mark. See the financial steps to more that we talk about. And give Mark a call. Get a date on a calendar. Let's work your numbers. 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984. So we've been saving money all these years, and this is the headline that I found this week. Millions of Americans spend decades saving for retirement, only to trip over tax bills once they get to the finish line. And the article was all about the different kinds of money that we bring into retirement. There's the pre-taxed money, which is your IRAs and your 401ks, that kind of stuff. There's your tax-free or after-tax money, which is your Roth. And then there's the taxable accounts, dividends and interest and capital gains and things like that. So 3 different tax treatments in retirement. The question here is, Mark, a lot of people have all 3. How much of each one should we have? Is there some kind of a formula? Should it be a third, a third, a third? Or how do we go about that? I know what you're going to look at me and you go, it depends. That's what you're going to say, aren't you? So,
do you want me to say something different?
Yeah, say something different.
Okay. Here we go. I will not say that phrase.
Okay.
What I will say is that for every person, what we do is customizable.
Okay.
So if you're not happy with one account being higher than another, then we will adjust it based on what we think is best for you and what you think is best for you. So I have a client currently, him and his wife, they have some accounts with me, and on the brokerage side of the business, he just calls me up. He's real technical. He said, look, I want to move this much to Roth. I'll pay it out of pocket for the taxes. He just tells me what to do, and we go ahead and we move it from the traditional IRA to the Roth, and we're doing that systematically because he wants to get to the point where when it's RMD age that there won't have to be any RMDs. So he's effectively doing this, okay? He's a very smart guy. Now, there are people that say, can you show me how to do this? Of course I can. Let's have a conversation. Let's look at your AGI, your adjusted gross income on your tax return. Let's get an understanding of what tax bracket you might be in. And let's just see, are we going to be going into another tax bracket at some point based on conversions? And if we think we are, probably going to have to talk to your tax professional to be certain about how we go about doing this. And that's another conversation we have. We know a lot of tax professionals. We know attorneys that do the estate planning here. We try to be involved the entire process because we want to be effective for you on so many levels. So when we look at the different accounts, there's another example here, Randy. A client of mine passed away recently. We were doing an inherited IRA. Well, the inherited IRA rule says that if you're not a spouse and you inherited the IRA, in this case is a kid, and it's an adult kid, this kid has to exhaust the funds within 10 years, right? So what we do is we start taking withdrawals from these funds and we put them over into an individual or taxable account. We put it into a non-qualified account, pay the taxes, and move that money over. So we want to open up both. So that's an example of where you're opening up another pocket of money and doing that too. Now, there's also other things where people say, well, I make too much money to contribute to a Roth. Well, that's perfectly fine. We could do a backdoor Roth. What's a backdoor Roth? A backdoor Roth is when you invest into a traditional IRA and then you convert it to a Roth IRA. Everyone's allowed to do that. Now, you can't get your biggest bang for your buck doing that because let's just say you have 10 years of work left in you. You have 10 years of work left in you and you're healthy. We could look at life insurance as an option as well, because I like to call that a Roth IRA and steroids. People think, oh, it doesn't work that way. Sure it does. You overfund the policy and you keep it underneath what's called the modified endowment contract limit, and then the Internal Revenue Code says that you could take tax-free loans from this money in the future and still have a death benefit. So we talk about a gamut of things in here. It all happens to be, how much time do you have left to work? Are you already retired? These conversations could be all over the spectrum. How much do we have in a taxable account? How much do we have IRA? How much do we have in a Roth IRA? What do we do about it? Well, like we said, it's all different, but what we want to do is affect you in a way that makes sense for your future and your financial future. So for us, the number one thing we look at is income, and when we're pulling the income and where we're pulling it from, and do we feel confident in the income we've prepared for you.
You're listening to the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. Online, it's moretoretire.com. Give Marc a call if it's time to talk about your retirement, whether it's right on the edge of retirement, a couple of years away, or as Marc said, maybe this person that he's working with has got 10-year runway in order to get everything ready for retirement. That seems like a great advantage. You can give Marc a call, 984-300-1984, 984-300-1984. Get a date on a calendar and talk through it. It's a no-cost, no-obligation meeting about your retirement. You've got questions and concerns. Let's get them out on the table and help you out. Now, I'm going to ask one question about that because you mentioned this guy who's got 10 years before he actually retires. Some of us will get to that point, and we've been pouring money into a 401k, a traditional 401k our whole life, our whole working life. And then they brought this thing in called a Roth 401k, so we could start moving money over there. I chose to do that at about age 60. I decided I'm not going to put anything in the tax deferred anymore. I'm going to put it all into the Roth 401k. Is there a point where you look at somebody and say, I think you've got enough of this pre-taxed money here. Let's start moving things over to the other side. Is it possible to go into retirement with too much of that 401k style money?
It really just depends on if we need that pile of money or not. Okay. So if we need that pile of money to effectively give you the amount of income you need in retirement, then we're not going to want to convert that because we need that pocket of money to be bigger for a certain reason, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if that's not necessary or if we could partially do conversions, sure, why not? Mm-hmm. Converting things over, it can be a great thing because, you look down the line in 20 years and it could be drastically different because what happens is when you convert to a Roth IRA, the money you convert it, you've already paid taxes on it. So those premiums that are going in, those deposits that are going in, those are always available to you. It's just the growth that's not tax-free until 5 years later, okay? So each and every time you convert, just remember the growth on that deposit takes 5 years before it's income tax-free to you. That's just that's out of the Internal Revenue Code. Tells you, point blank. But do we want to do stuff like this? Yes, if it makes sense for you and you want there to be a bigger bottom line with less taxes, sure. But there's another way you could do this. Let's say you don't want to do that. And let's say you get in retirement and you have these RMDs, these required minimum distributions, and you're not spending it. If you're healthy, you could buy life insurance with that. Mm-hmm. That life insurance could pay the taxes on the IRA. Right? This is another conversation that we'll have. We look at so many different things and so many different angles because we want to be a beacon of light for you at the end of the tunnel, knowing that you can retire at a certain age, feel confident, feel comfortable, and we're going to make you feel comfortable because when you become part of the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience, you become part of our family. And that's important to us. So you'll get to know me, you get to know my wife, Amy, you get to know my oldest daughter, Ariana, and you'll get to know Chris. And Chris is a really smart guy. He's got some good jokes, too.
Well, the one word that I'm going to pull out of there that you said is confident. I want everybody listening to us to have a retirement plan that you walk into retirement and feel confident that you can spend, that you're not worried about running out of money. That's the idea here of having something down on paper that you can plan and plan for, and you can also adjust as things go along because your life's going to change as you go through retirement. You may get down to Florida and say, holy cow, I found the perfect condo. Should I buy it or should I rent it? Okay, now I got to talk to Mark. Let's talk about this a little bit. Those things are going to come up. Let's figure it out together. Moretoretire.com is the website. Moretoretire.com. There's a place for you to put a little information in there. Mark reaches out to you, or you can reach out to him right now. 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984. It's a no-cost, no-obligation meeting about your retirement. Let's get your questions answered. I counted it up, Mark. I have lived now in 7 states. We moved around a lot. But the last one, I've been in Atlanta for about 35 years now. So we've been put down roots here, I guess you could say. But at the same time, all that moving around when I was young, I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to leave old bad Randy behind and I'm going to invent a new Randy in the new city. And guess what? You are who you are, folks. You pretty much are who you are. And one of the things about being you are who you are, financially speaking, let's talk a little bit about that because I know in 2008, when your 401k got cut in half, you said to yourself, I will never let this happen to me again. And then you just let your money sit because it all came back all by itself. You didn't do anything. And now you're near retirement and you still don't have any help and you don't have a financial advisor. Guess what? You are who you are. So now it's time to change a little bit. And Mark, let me ask you this. If people come into you and they are save, and you've got to try to get them to spend in retirement and enjoy it, or they've hated the stock market their whole life and now they're going to hate it in retirement or vice versa, can people change their spots in retirement? Can they actually financially change a little bit to take on the identity that they kind of need to be healthy in retirement?
Yeah, sometimes you just got to shake them real quick, Maybe the money will start flying out of their pockets, right? It's how it is, Randy. Sometimes you can change and sometimes you can't.
Right.
And it's a choice. Mm-hmm. It's a choice. And you want to change in retirement. You want to spend in retirement because if you don't spend, you're going to leave it. You're not going to hook up a trailer and take it to heaven with you. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So effectively, how do we go about spending in retirement? Let's have real conversations about how we go about this and how you feel comfortable. Because if I can help you feel comfortable about spending, I think that can make a huge difference. And so that's the real conversation. Number one, where did these habits come from? Did you grow up without a whole lot in your life? Did you grow up feeling poor? Or if you didn't, you just save because that's what you did. That's what you learned from other people. And you're just building up these piles of money. But are these piles of money going to do people good? Well, we want to build good in this world. So you could also go do some good out there too, right? You can give money to charity. St. Jude's a great one. Your local church, whatever it might be. Great. It's another thing that I fully believe in is donations and all of that good stuff, right? But spend money for yourself too, because you have saved it. You might as well use some of it. I know people say, I'm building generational wealth. Well, the majority of my clients are not out there building generational wealth. They might feel like they're going to want to leave something, but that's not the majority of my clients. The majority of my clients, they're trying to figure out how to retire, how to get enough money in retirement, how to be able to spend to do some things in retirement, and then how to pass money along properly. We're going to be those people that are there for you and your family during good times and bad, where they're going to be there to help you and assist you in that process. But spending, we'll have a real conversation about how you can feel confident about that spending.
We talked about earlier about the change going into retirement, how you've been paid every 2 weeks, and now you're going to get paid in a whole different way from Social Security and from your investments and these different things like that. And that's a big change for people. Mark, do you find that if you can get that income piece of the puzzle correct, if you can say you're going to walk into retirement and you're going to be making the same amount of money that you did before or even more than you did before, and once that income piece is fixed and it's there, and they can see that paycheck with Social Security and whatever else it is, does that give people the freedom and say, you know what? I can go on vacation. I can go out and get a car instead of every 8 years. Maybe I get it every 3 or 4 years. And that income piece gives people some of the permission that they need to go out there and spend in retirement.
Yes, yes, and yes. I mean, the income pops in and you feel confident you can go spend that income. So let's build the income a little bit more. Let's get a higher rate of income, for yourself and your spouse in retirement, because the things you're going to want to do in your 60s and early 70s, you're not going to want to do them in your 80s.
Yeah.
So let's actually go out there and live life. The people that have regrets about life are the people that didn't do anything.
Yeah.
The people that like they thought, my gosh, I didn't do this in my 40s, my 50s, my 60s, and now here I am, late 70s, and I don't feel like it. I don't feel great. Well, I'm sorry. Is it too late? It's never too late. But the point is, you have opportunities throughout the way, and creating memories, they last a lifetime. The things that we laugh about the most as a family are all the memories. We joke about things that have happened left and right. Some of them, you think are a little bit dark sometimes. You think, how do you laugh in a dark place? It's some of the best laughter you could possibly have. And that's what we do here. We want to be there to help you spend and create those memories that last a lifetime. The laughter, the great times, the arguments too, all of it. We want to build it all.
Yeah, it's always a great Thanksgiving until somebody says, what do you mean by that? And then the fun begins, right? You're listening to the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. And online, you can find Marc at more2retire.com. Just spell that right out, more2retire.com. There's a place for you to put some information in there, a little contact information. What does that do? Marc gives you a call back and just starts a conversation. It's a no cost, no obligation phone call just to say, okay, what are your questions? What are you worried about? What have you done to save for retirement? What do you want to do in retirement? When do you want to retire? Let's just get all that stuff out on the table there. And then that's where we start. And, we talked at the very beginning of the show today, talking with the end in mind. How long are you going to be in retirement? Is it going to be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? How long? Maybe you're going to retire at 55 and it's going to be a really extended period of time. Let's figure that out. That's different from everybody else. And Marc has talked a lot today about a customized plan, especially for you. I mean, I know, Mark, my father-in-law worked for 3M for 40 years. He had a pension. He had Social Security. He had investments. He had all that. He didn't have a whole lot of need for income, but you might. And that's where it changes. Let's have that conversation. Here's the number. Here's the website, moretoretire.com. moretoretire.com or 984-300-1984. 984-300-1984. That is all the time we have on the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. Know that we also have our podcast. You can hear this show on iTunes or Spotify. Look it up today, and we hope to see you here next week on the Marc Oslar Retirement Experience.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. Marc Oslar Retirement Experience is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth LLC, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Marc Oslar Retirement Experience are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Investing involves risks, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing carrier. This radio podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be considered as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Marc Oslar Retirement Experience is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute legal or tax advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein are provided by third parties that have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Marc Oslar Retirement Experience. Market Guard is a firm that provides investment signals as well as portfolio allocation recommendations for a wide variety of model portfolios. Market Guard does not offer advice or enter into fiduciary relationships. Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA.